Hey guys, sorry this video is so late. I've had a mad couple of days, but the thing is I'm here now and that's what's important. Thinking from the last video, I've decided that I'm going to try and discuss two books each time I make a video and have a theme connecting them both. So hopefully at least you've read one or know of them, you know, it's sort of got an idea. But also I will discuss maybe just one book if I really want to talk about just that one book. So I'm still discussing The Shack by William Paul Young and, although you can't say that, Disreputable History of Frankie Landau-Banks by E. Lockhart. So let's get to it. I'm going to start with The Shack because this is the book I read first. I actually really liked the sound of it from the blurb. In fact, I'll just read this to you because you might want to go out and buy it yourself. Mackenzie Allen Phillips' youngest daughter, Missy, has been abducted during a family vacation, and evidence that she has been brutally murdered is found in an abandoned shack deep in the Oregon wilderness. 4 years later, in the midst of his great sadness, Mac receives a suspicious note, apparently from God, inviting him back to the shack for a weekend. Against his better judgment, he arrives at the shack on a wintry afternoon and walks into his darkest nightmare. And sorry, that was TweetDeck. What he finds that will change Mac's world forever. In a world where religion seems to grow increasingly irrelevant, the shack wrestles with the timeless question, where is God in a world so filled with unspeakable pain? The answer Max get will astound you and perhaps transform you as much as it did him. You want everyone to know, to read this book. I think it was a really nice concept and great, but I think it failed to deliver for me, and I really didn't enjoy it. I think one of the main weaknesses, I believe it's self-published, and it kind of shows, because, maybe it's not self-published, I think I'm making that up. I think it was self-published originally or something, maybe, but I didn't find the characters believable. Mackenzie's supposed to be a character who sort of wrestled with religion his whole life. He had a very religious father who used to beat him and was alcoholic, and he's sort of had an on-off relationship with everything. So when he gets this note from God telling him to go to the shack, he kind of seems to jump on it with a bit too much faith for my liking. I thought it was a bit unbelievable that he would just like sort of go for it. That was the first sort of hurdle because you know, I didn't really connect with him, didn't really see why he was going to the shack, I didn't really understand his motivations. Also, the author doesn't really understand plot, I don't think, because they try and build suspense when they're, the book opens, you know that the daughter's been gone for 4 years, and then it flashes back to show you what happened that day, and it's quite a long drawn out process of them trying to find the girl that day, and it's weird because it's trying to be suspenseful, but you know they don't find her because you've already seen that, so you're kind of like, well, I'd rather just move on and get with the plot because I don't need to see, it's quite a drawn out chapter, like every detail of that day, and you kind of really need to know it, which was my first problem. Also, I think, I won't really go into that actually yet. So it's, it's a weird book. When it starts to get into issues with God, and then we get into the issue when he actually goes to the shack and meets God, and there's the book is basically just discussions with God, and how God's influences on the world and how He is present and all this sort of stuff. And I am religious myself, but I think with a lot of people, you sort of have your beliefs, but you're not. I don't really think they're probably right. They're probably way off, but it's what I believe, and I stick with that. And I know there's unanswered questions, and this book kind of felt a bit like heavily, like it was giving me the answers. Like it was saying, this is what it is, and this is the answer to it, which I don't really agree with. I think it should have been a bit more ambiguous. But maybe that's just me wanting to be a bit more conservative rather than it being quite striking, saying this is what it is. Don't get me wrong, the answers were quite, nice, but I didn't necessarily agree with all of them. And the visions on the world were kind of a bit too defined for me. My religion, and I think with most religion, is kind of blurry lines, and I didn't feel that book really showed that to me. I didn't really say it, like it was too abrupt. Also, it's full of cliches, to be honest. The ending was so predictable I could have seen it a mile off, as well as there's supposed to be like a big revelation at the end, and when it came out I just felt like the character was a bit stupid because I could have guessed that from page 1. So, it really didn't surprise me. It was very disappointed. I was really looking forward to reading it, and it was really disappointing. Disreputable History of Frankie Landau-Banks, completely opposite. Love this book. It was amazing. This one, it's kind of going along with a nice teenage girl's plot, and she's got a boyfriend, and then she starts to get into it, and this is a secret. I'm going to read the back. Well, there's no point in reading the back. I'll read this bit. No, I won't. It's just a secret society, and she kind of decides that it's a secret society for boys at this school she's at. She decides that maybe it shouldn't just be for boys, maybe she's good enough to be in it as well, and tries to sort of take over and rule it from behind the scenes. So it's really about her and her interactions with the group, and interactions with the people in the group, and identity and all those sort of issues. The ending for this was completely unexpected, like shockingly. It's kind of like it was building to something, but it never really got there, because instead it was just like, I don't want to give too much away, but it's just kind of like, sorry about TweetDeck, it's just kind of like slips away at the end, but beautifully and shockingly and almost disturbingly, but really good. Like, and just with the character who wasn't expecting the ending, I wasn't either. I really love that. So that's the theme for today's is endings, because this one, like I said, it was such a cliche. I guessed how it was gonna end, really. I don't want to say, but I'm guessing that if you put it in the comments, you could probably guess it. But this one was just completely different. I think if this one had shocked me more at the end, maybe it would have left a lasting impression, because I think a lot of the books you read, your opinion is based on the end if you get to the end, because it's the last thought you have about the book, and that's what you come away with. You come away with that feeling, that sense of the book. So, if the ending's a very happy ending, you're going to come away probably thinking that the book was a bit of a happier book than it was a sad book, even if the rest, the other 200 pages were a bit depressing. It's the kind of the impression that you're left with, and because this was so shocking, and I kind of feel like it's a darker book than it actually was. I'm probably saying too much about the ending, I'm sorry. But yeah, I loved it, it was awesome. It's so bright, this cover. Okay, I'd really recommend this one. I wouldn't so much recommend this one unless you really want it's a nice exploration of religion. It's very Christian. It's the most religious book I've ever read. Probably just because of the defining lines it gives, just because it says this is what it is, this is what it is. If you don't want that, it's probably not the best book for you. But it's bestseller, and there's people like on the back saying they freaking love it, and it's just not me. I think it needed some work character wise, but I guess that's not what the book's about. It's about religion, and it's about God, and it's about his influence on the character. Also, there was something that happened later in the book with the character, and I can't really say it, but basically their motivation and their drive and the emotion in the scene was trying to be a very emotional scene. It wasn't for me because I just didn't believe it. I didn't understand why the character was acting the way he did. So it needed more character development for me. Maybe that would have made me feel better about it. And yeah, so I didn't really like it. But this is really good. The characters in this are so memorable. So you understand them really well. Even the secondary characters, you kind of know how they're going to react, and you fall back on them a bit, which is really nice. I suppose this book didn't really have many supporting characters. Screensaver, sorry. This book didn't really have many supporting characters because it's just kind of Mackenzie and God and that sort of stuff. But yeah, those are my thoughts on those two. So I hope that wasn't too spoilery for you. I hope you got something from that. Leave me comments below saying what you thought of the books. I don't know why, there's probably not going to be a link in the sidebar. Maybe I'll put the titles and authors so you can go and look them up yourself if you want. Yeah, comments, video responses, please discuss, and I've replied to every comment so far, I think, so I'll do the same for this one. I want to get the discussion going. You've got to tell me what you want me to read next time. Right, there's two things I'm going to read. I'm either going to discuss author expectations, like if you're reading the same book from the same author and what you expect from that. So that would be between Scarlett Thomas's The End of Mr. White and Scarlett Thomas's Popco. They're not very popular books, well, I don't think, so many of you might not have heard of them. Or the other option is discussing classics, and it will be between J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye and is it John Steinbeck? John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men. So which of those two sets do you want me to read? Let me know in the comments. This has gone on way too long. I will see you next time. Subscribe, comment, link, bye.